Okay, the game we're going to take a look at is the War for the Union by Clash of Arms. And this came out in 1992. And to tell you the truth, I missed it. I don't know if it didn't come to our local store or somehow I just missed it. I'd have to check the date on Victory Games Civil War. Maybe I was busy with that game. I don't know why I missed this kind of fine-looking game. And this is just an introductory. We're looking at the pieces. I was able to get an unpunched copy at our local convention just last week. So let's take a look. Okay, before picking up the game, I had gone on Board Game Geek and wanted to see what people thought of it, because it was designed quite a while ago, and I wanted to see how it stood up, if it stood the test of time, kind of thing. But anyway, what do you get in the box? Well, you start off with your basic game rules and scenario, and that's they're not numbered. Well, not too many pages to get you into the basic game, and I'll talk more about that later. Then you've got your advanced game rules, which is a much thicker booklet, and it gets into the amphibious movement, and there's examples of play, much more comprehensive. And then there's these scenarios, option rules, commentary, and designer's notes also. So you've got 3 booklets with the game. Okay, you can see your land combat results table, naval movement chart, all your charts are there. There's your map, and I have lots to say about the map. I'll mention that, take a look at that later. And your counters. And there's another chart here, a couple more charts. Yeah, these are the Confederate reinforcement schedule. Border state reinforcement chart, more charts. So lots of charts. You'd expect that in a game on the entire Civil War. And your counters here. 3 sheets actually. And I'll see if I can go a little bit closer. Okay, the counters are kind of neat. They're done kind of in what I'm going to call the semi-cartoonish style. It was a little bit fashionable at the time. And very graphic. For example, a battery. You've got a picture of a battery here. And a fort, literally a picture of a fort. Over here, you've got some naval units. Little sails for sailing vessels. You've got your ironclads. Looks like an ironclad. For generals, you've got your bands to show how many stars, whether they're corps or army. Railhead markers, entrenchments, fatigue, blockade. Very graphic, very nice. And there's your farragut and foot markers, naval leaders. And here's some Confederates. Again, city names here: Atlanta, Louisville, Baltimore. I don't know the game, so I'm just showing you the counters. And we're going to take a closer look at the map. And I have more to say about the map in a moment. Let's spread it out on the table and see what it looks like. Okay, I can't quite do the map justice with an overall view, but we'll zoom in on certain sections of the map very soon. But the map does extend well into Missouri. That's Jefferson City, Missouri. In the south, of course, we've come to expect the border would be New Orleans. Part of Florida here, Gainesville, that's Jacksonville. And then, of course, we're going way up to Baltimore and Washington and Philadelphia. And your charts are on the side there. So to really appreciate this map, we'll have to zoom in a little bit closer. And I'll do so. Now, if there was ever a game I bought for just the map, it's this one. And I literally did buy it just for that reason. I went on Board Game Geek, saw some of the screenshot, and said, wow, I love that map. And I recognized the style, and later found out it was by Rick Barber. Now, the credits are a little dubious. I'm not sure. There's several credits there that were kind of confusing. So I got in contact with Rick, and sure enough, it's one of his maps. And no surprise, it's his style, and I like it very much. and in a moment we'll zoom in. He did mention that one thing he didn't like about the map, and I'll admit it's the curious thing about the map, are the mountains. They're about the only things that look a little funny on the map. Rick said that originally he wanted to go with mountain hexes instead of mountain hex sides, but the designer overruled him, didn't really want that. He wanted to go with mountain hex sides, so that's why the mountains look a little out of kilter, we might say, compared to the rest of the map. As far as I know, it doesn't affect the game at all. I don't know the game, haven't read it, haven't played it, but let's take a look at this beautiful map that Rick's created. Now these days, with so much Civil War literature available to everybody, everybody I meet in the wargaming field is almost a resident expert on the Civil War, and I've been reading the Civil War for a long time too, and it's kind of a hobby with me. So when we look at a game map, most wargamers who've read the war are expecting certain things, and they expect a certain look. And one of the things I always look at, of course, is the critical terrain between Washington here and Richmond. As we all know, a lot of the Civil War battles in the East were fought in this very critical terrain here. I mean, Manassas Junction, 2 battles there. The Battle of Fredericksburg there, Chancellorsville Wilderness, Yellow Tavern. We've got the battles around Richmond here. The 7 days battles took place all along here. We've got McClellan's advance up the peninsula here. So the Battle of Louisbourg occurred there, the Siege of Yorktown. So these are all shown on the map quite clearly. And Rick's done a nice job. I like the rail connections. They kind of look like, I don't know, period rail lines. He does show the wilderness. You can see the rail network out of Baltimore, at the Potomac River. He's got this correct. We certainly expect to see the James River and the York River, showing you the channeling up the peninsula here. So the map certainly is accurate. Now, of course, we've got to go to Gettysburg. Gettysburg's up here. This one surprised me a little bit, because Gettysburg is... Alright, he's got it, in game terms, it's in rough terrain. I would have thought Gettysburg would be in the clear terrain, but as we know, Gettysburg is at the foot of the mountains here. Cashtown is just to the west of Gettysburg. I forget how many miles, 4 or 5 miles, 8 miles, I'm not sure. And it's just at the very edge of the mountain top. So again, the designer, using his license as the designer, can interpret the terrain as he sees fit. So I don't say that's an error or anything, it's just I'm a little unused to that. Harrisburg up here, of course, the state capital at the time. Now, we'll go along the rail network to West Virginia. There's Wheeling, there's Parkersburg. Now, West Virginia is a critical area of the Civil War in 1861. Little wee battles were fought there, but they were quite important. I don't know how that's going to be reflected in this game. Up here in the north, we've got Dayton, Cincinnati, of course, Columbus, the Ohio River. We're used to seeing Kentucky a different color because Kentucky is neutral at the beginning of most Civil War games, as it should be, as is Missouri. You can see it there, it's a lighter color. And we expect to see the city of Louisville here, of course. Evansville is often depicted on Civil War maps. Another critical area of the Civil War in all strategic games is the area of Cairo and Columbus. And Belmont and Columbus here, this area is quite critical. And I know that there's special rules for the way the rail line works here. Over into Missouri, well, we expect to see Jefferson City, of course. There's the city of St. Louis. There's Springfield, Missouri, and the mountainous terrain that begins here in Arkansas. And we'll go down the Mississippi River. Here's Memphis, Tennessee, and we'll follow south Mississippi. Got your swampy terrain, which we've come to expect. And of course the famous city of Vicksburg, where the siege was. And there's Jackson, Mississippi, the city that was supplying Vicksburg. Over to the west you've got Shreveport. And we'll follow south And you've got Baton Rouge here, of course, New Orleans, the mouth of the Mississippi, and Mobile, Pensacola, Fort Pickens, and into Florida. And we'll go up and we'll see Savannah here, Charleston, where the war began, really, Fort Sumter, and Wilmington, and into North Carolina. There's Raleigh, and of course Petersburg, Richmond again, where the war in the East ultimately ended. And you've got some charts here, and I guess these are boxes for placing your units, and the terrain effects chart. And another overall view of the map. And like I mentioned, I really bought the game just for the map. Now I'm going to say a few words about the rules and the game itself, just my initial impressions of it. I'm not actually sure if I'm going to take the time to learn this game, and I'll tell you why. One, there's talk of a second edition coming out, which would be kind of nice. I'm wondering what kind of map there'd be. I do not like the way the rules are laid out, to tell you the truth. For example, the basic game. When I read the basic game to any game, I expect that when I read all the basic game rules, I should be able to play sort of the overall game in a basic sense. But that isn't the way they laid out their rules. If you read the basic game to War for the Union, all you can play is really the first Manassas scenario. There are no naval rules, no amphibious, nothing fancy like that. So there isn't a lot of reading, but reading the basic game won't give you much. I guess just basic movement, if that, because amphibious and naval is not in there. So I don't like that format. Then you jump to the advanced rules, and that's quite a commitment of time. There's a lot of reading there. That doesn't necessarily turn me off. I've taken on large games before, but just the layout. Then of course you've got your scenarios, optional rules too. So this one was going to be a heavy commitment of time, and I don't know if I want to do that. I want to return to Victory Games Civil War and give that a try again. So I'm just not sure what the fate of this game is going to be for me personally. So again, this is not a review of the game. Haven't played it. The pieces aren't even punched. Just an impression. I will say that my impression of the map is very good. I really like it. It might be the map that just gets me interested enough to give this thing a try. So that's all I have to say about War for the Union, designed in 1992, and I was glad to get an unpunched copy. That's it.